Welcome to the Beast of the NFC East podcast. I am your host, Sean Gnitzcavich, with my co-host, Jeremy Goode. We're talking about prospects. We're talking about prospects that we love, prospects that we don't think are getting enough love, and prospects that we think can be good for one of these NFC East teams, or maybe they're just great players, and after you hear us talking about them, you're like, damn, I want to go check that guy out. You guys check him out, and then you fall in love with him, and then you can tell all your friends, hey, I like that guy before the NFL did, and all those casuals and all those. Well, casuals are still fine. It's if you love the NFL, you love the NFL. Anyways, Jeremy Goode, what is good?
It's kind of like, Sean, I think this process is like March Madness, where you try to predict the 13 or 12 seeds that are going to make a run to the Sweet 16, and you fall in love with them, and then they never pan out. I think, we have our list of prospects. I think some of these guys will be good. You just never know. But there's intrigue, You go through the first few rounds, and then you have to, there's an extra 5 after that. So there are some good ball players there. It's not our job to find them, obviously, but for the 32 GMs, there are some good players they can add on day 2, day 3 of the NFL draft. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and we talked about this too. Some of these guys are top 30 visits for the Giants that I picked, because there's some that I knew about and I liked, and I was like, no, there's no way the Giants are going to get into them. And then I see that they're there for a top 30 visit, and I'm like, sweet, I want to know more about them, because like I was saying to you, the Giants, and this is a fact that I got from Marshall Green of Giants Chat Now, but 12 of the 24 Joe Shane draft picks have been top 30 visits, and a 13th if you count Bryce Ford Wheaton, who is a UDFA, who is also a top 30 visit. And you were saying the same with the Eagles, like a lot of the Eagles' top 30 visits.
I don't have the numbers. They take a lot of the top 30 guys ultimately, yeah.
Yeah. And there's some fun things. Anything else you want to talk about before we start getting into these prospects?
No, it just seems like a time, checking out Giants country. It seems like another year of them waiting for the perfect quarterback, not taking a quarterback, and we'll see. Although there is a quarterback I love for them. If they can wait a little bit, maybe the second round, I think you know where I'm going. I really love this. I really love this for them.
I love it too, and we'll get to it.
Yes.
So stay tuned to find out this quarterback, because I think a lot of the Giants coverage, myself included, like I've been saying, like I'm not a big Jackson Dart, and I've kind of moved on from Shedeur. When we lost the number 1 pick, I was pissed because Cam Ward was my guy, and then everybody else became Cam Ward consensus number 1, and now he's pretty much a lock to go to the Titans. Just a little precursor. I'm not talking about Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Because I'm sure if anybody is this far into the draft where you're stumbling upon our YouTube channel, you probably know quite about Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. But one of my number 1 prospects, who I picked in one of our mock drafts, is a guy that I love, and he's my Giants draft crush. There's a lot of good running backs in this class, and the Giants have met with a lot of them. This is not one of them they've met with yet, but it is my guy, Damien Martinez, out of Miami. And I know you're familiar with Damien Martinez. Cowboys fans probably are too. I've seen that the most mocked teams that he's gone to are tied with the Giants and the Cowboys. So the Cowboys need a running back, and the fact that they're going for somebody who I think his consensus right now is 118 on the consensus draft board. I mean, some draft boards have him higher. A lot of people who cover the draft have him higher. Let me just pull this up. I got him. Yeah, 118, which is crazy, because I think he's definitely going in the 3rd round, but maybe not because it's such a deep class. But if you look at his stats, I mean, there's a part of me that kind of wants to take him in the, like, if we took him at the top of the 3rd, or the top of the 3rd pick, I'd like it. I don't think he's going to go at our top of the 2nd pick. There's no way that's happening. But I do love this Damien Martinez. So Damien Martinez starts off at Oregon State. That's where I actually first watched him. He was one of the number 1 running back transfers going into Miami this year. He's listed at 6 feet, 217. That's what he measured in at the combine. Miami did have him listed at 234, I think, going into the season. And there were reports that he kind of came in a little bit with too much weight, and then he lost that weight throughout the season. And if you watch the tape from this year, he becomes more explosive and more dynamic later on. So maybe he'll play closer to that 217, 220. But Damien Martinez, what I love about him is he's got a little bit of Steven Jackson. He's not the same size as Steven Jackson, but he takes like 3 or 4 guys to take him down. And he is a power back, but he also has elite bursts. Like he has plenty of runs over 15 yards. I think I got it pulled up over here. 13 carries of over 15 yards for somebody who's really good at that short contact. He's just a fun bruiser, and I think he'd be a great compliment to Tyrone Tracy. Cowboys fans, if you're looking for your number one, I think he could be your number one. One of the things that he does struggle in a little bit is pass protection, but he's got the body for it, And there's a lot of these big guys, like I'm going to talk about Caleb Johnson, also struggles with pass protection. You wouldn't think so because he's a big guy. Cam Scadaboo, who you look at him, you think he's a tank. You think he can just dismantle everybody because he can do pretty much everything else on the field. He kind of struggles in pass protection. But we got some good stats here for Damien Martinez. Let's see here. And some of these are from James Foster, who I think does a great job of doing the draft. So Damien Martinez, before we get to that, 4.5 40. Everybody's running high these days in like the 4.3s, 4.4s, but 4.5 is pretty good, especially for a bruiser back like himself. He had 1,000 yards this year, 10 rushing touchdowns, 204 yards in the air, which isn't, he's not really a receiving back. And if he was in the Giants backfield, I know especially, I think Tyrone Tracy would kind of take more of those roles. But he did have 4.5 yards after contact, which is second in the league, only behind Ashton Genty for this draft, because he's a bruiser. He was also, I think, number one in, which was like 30% in successful runs after getting hit in the backfield. So the Giants, everybody's like, oh, well, Saquon couldn't do anything beyond the Giants line. Look at him beyond the Eagles. Well, guess what? If the Giants O-line is sucking at run blocking, Damien Martinez is very successful at turning those negative plays into positive plays. He also has one of the highest success rates in short yardage, goal line, short yardage first downs. So he has that burst, which I love, because you want a rocket like that. We don't have the tush push in our arsenal, but we could employ Damien Martinez to get those few extra yards. Before I keep ranting about this, my love for Damien, do you have any thoughts on Damien Martinez?
I like him. He's a nice running back who's getting a lot more. He's getting talked about more as time goes on. I think the NFL today, Sean, is about getting the extra yards, keep on moving forward, taking on hits, but still churning those legs, falling forward a yard or two. It makes a difference. The game's about getting first downs, moving the football ultimately, and running clock. Of course, you have to score. You have to convert on touchdowns. If you control the clock, you're going to win a lot of games. You can control the clock by running the ball a lot. And if you keep on moving forward, which I think we saw with the Eagles last year, how much of a run-dominant team we are. Yes, it's Saquon Barkley, but I like this guy's makeup. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially how late he's being mocked too.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I don't even care. If you're a running back and you're a good pass catcher, great. It also seems like in today's world, if you're not, it's not the biggest deal. Same with pass blocking. Obviously, if he's not a good pass, that's something he probably should improve a little bit if he's not good at it. It does make a difference here and there. In terms of catching out of the backfield, if he can't do it, he just can't do it. I don't think that's a glaring issue. In my opinion, some people disagree. I think if you do something well, if you're a good running back in general, that's enough for me, in my opinion. But intriguing guy, and value-wise too, from where he's listed, really intriguing.
Yeah, well, I was actually just looking, and I just pulled up those stats for I go on NFL mock draft database because they put all of the mock drafts together and all the big boards, and he already fell down since last night to 120, which is crazy. I don't know. I think it's because of how far or how many running backs there are, because they got, I'm looking here, he's probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's the 10th ranked running back, which I've seen in other people's rankings. Sometimes he's at 10, the lowest I see. Sometimes he goes lower, but what do you think? Do you think he's going to go higher than that consensus pick?
I think so.
And would you take him higher than that consensus pick?
I think. Well, I don't want to say I'm an expert on it, but I think with who are the does it say the 9 who I know this is just one source, but does it say the 9 running backs ahead of him?
Yeah, so this is like a cumulative. This is from NFL Mock
Right.
Draft Database. But yeah, Ashton Genty, obviously. Omarion Hampton, a guy that the Giants have for a top 30 visit, son of Giants great Rodney Hampton. Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, also a top 30 with the Giants. Caleb Johnson, top 30 with the Giants, but I talked about him. Cam Scatteraboo, top 30. Dylan Sampson, who I like too, out of Tennessee, different running back. DJ Giddens and RJ Harvey.
Yeah, I think maybe there are some arguments for the last few the Kansas State and UCF running backs, but it's I guess it's just it's a deeper class at running back. Not like an elite skill, but just an overall. I guess with Ohio State carrying 2 top 5 running backs, that sort of pushes a lot of guys back in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I guess some rankings where he is makes sense. I think if a team likes a prospect more, and a lot can change in the next 10-ish days or whatever, he'll get an earlier call than what he's sort of projected at now.
Yeah, and I think if I'm looking at some of those other running backs, I know everybody loves Cam Scatteraboo. I think the way, because of all these top 30 visits, I think the Giants are definitely looking for a running back. And I think that the teams like, maybe he kind of has that same skill set of like a bruiser and like fighting for yards, power running back as Brian Robinson. So maybe he wouldn't really be the answer for the Commanders. I don't think he's a priority with Saquon and the Eagles, especially with that extension. But the Giants look like they're looking for a running back in the top 3 rounds for sure, based on all their top 30 visits. They also met with Ollie Gordon. I know that they talked to him at the combine.
Oklahoma
they
State.
also have him for a top 30. Yeah. And also the other like later round running back, which I think could still be a 4th rounder, Jarquez Hunter. But it looks like they're going that direction. And there's a way that, since the class is so deep, guys like Scatteraboo and Caleb Johnson maybe fall to the 3rd, and maybe that's the pick that we get at the top of the 3rd, because it really looks like we're looking for a running back to pair probably with Russell Wilson, because he always does well with a running game. Everybody I know is like, we have Tyrone Tracy, we don't need him. Tyrone Tracy was still a 5th-round pick. He still had some struggles last year, had some fumbles, which like were cute, and all the Giants fans were like, since we sucked so bad, we're like, we still love you, Tyrone, but really, if he does that this year, we're going to be pissed, and we're going to be like, bring in that new rookie to take some of the load. I mean, it happened last year. Eric Ray got blackballed because he fumbled on the 1-yard line, and then I don't think we saw him for the rest of the season. So,
yeah, it's interesting how the honeymoon effect kind of works with some of these guys. Rookie year, you get it, then and that's the one kryptonite with running backs. Even though I have a running back on my list who fumbled a lot in Texas, I know. But that's a one. That's a one.
Do you want to transfer into that guy?
Yeah, we can match for position. I have
Jaydon Blue.
Jaydon Blue out of Texas. He did not get many touches. He got more touches as he got older. He fumbled the ball quite a bit, but he is very, very fast. And I think he ran the combine injured. I don't know the exact numbers. I think that he might have 4.3 speed.
Yeah, I got it up here.
Maybe a little closer to 4.4.
Yeah, 4.38 40. And the fumbles, I had him down for 4 fumbles last year, and I think 2 fumbles in more limited time the year before. So at least 6 fumbles in his college career, which isn't amazing. But you talk about why
it's a big number with more of a running load. With the running load he had, it's a very big number. But the good thing is in fumbles, in my opinion, again, maybe people agree, it's a correctable issue. I'm not saying that everybody can correct it. I just think that like you could teach somebody how to secure the football going forward. Why I like him, 5th, maybe 6th round projections, maybe more 5th. And he is just a home run kind of waiting to happen. Not necessarily a Saquon Barkley, but with the speed, it just seems like if you give him the ball and there's an opening, he's running for days. I like that. I like that in that part of the draft. great kind of backup running back, third running back option. Speed kills, and if you are a good team, if any team would benefit from him, but if you're a good team, decent team, it just seems really nice to add that kind of like identity to your team. Didn't have many touches either, which I love as a NFL team drafting running backs. I think that sometimes teams a lot of these guys are beaten down in college and then they're just not as productive because of all the touches they had in the 3-4 years they were in college. So that's a nice quality. And I think just his home run potential is very exciting for any NFL team. It's all about playmaking in the NFL too. It's all about speed, hitting the hole, and just making big plays if you can. The early Kansas City Super Bowl teams had a lot of speed. Some of the guys didn't even have much talent, but it was just the speed that kills. So I think Jaydon Blue is very intriguing there. Has some issues, of course, and that's why I think he's lower in the draft. But if you can develop him, nice little player to have as a backup quarterback under control for like 4 years. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I have him here at 141 on the consensus board. So I think
Okay.
like that's 6. But I do think he's a great complementary back. And I think he's also a great receiving weapon. Like you get him to open space and he runs.
Yeah.
I feel like I get a little Jerick McKinnon maybe in that sense.
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon dealt with some injuries, but a speedy guy that kind of moved and was great putting him out and getting some receptions and doing well after the catch. He had 6 receiving touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns, 1,000 yards total, 365 yards receiving this year in 15 games. So, yeah, he's definitely a receiving back, and I think – and just a weapon. I feel like if you draft him, you find ways to utilize his speed. He's not going to be your every down running back, but you get him in there.
Yeah, that's the point I think that I'm trying to make sure. Just the fact, like, get the ball in his hands. So we saw that sort of with San Francisco and Deebo Samuel early on. Now I think they beat Deebo Samuel to death doing that. But early on, it was very productive for them in San Francisco in that offense. A little different because Blue is a running back and not a receiver. But one of those guys where, give him the ball, see what he can do kind of thing. And, yeah, exciting.
Yeah. Where do you think would be like the top? You think 5th round? Is that the
earliest you draft 5th round? Yeah, maybe for whatever reason, if someone's in love, 4th round. But I would say 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just due to like the fumbling issues, and you've seen the promise, you've seen the skill set, but you haven't seen that elite production, which is like you said, it's good because you're not running to the ground. But also, some teams I think want to see that production at the college level. Like these big popping numbers,
There are some benefits for him being a true prospect, and there are some negativities that come with it too, just because sample size is not that large, really basing on what he can be as a player. And you would assume and hope the stats consistently follow his playmaking, speed, and running and catching out of the backfield. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know I have one more running back after this. Is there anything else you want to say about Jaydon Blue, or?
No, that's it.
All right. You think we should mix it up? Because we're not doing all running backs here. We got some O-line, D-line, linebackers. What are you thinking, Jeremy? Should we keep it with the running back?
I'll go. I'll just add, I didn't put him on my list. Raheem Sanders out of South Carolina, considering he looks like a 7th round pick. I just putting the name out there, like the pick a lot.
Yeah. I think one guy that the Giants have been into, and I think because he's a Jersey guy, and I've heard a lot of other people talk about him, I've watched him. Kyle Monangai is like my 6th, 7th round out of Rutgers, just rocked up. And even though he's smaller in stature, he's got like that weight proportion. So he's kind of also just like a hard hitter breaking through contact. Not the fastest. I've seen some people actually compare him to like a Devin Singletary, the way he just kind of fights for yards, but not really that like athlete to break away. But yeah, I think just because we're on kind of these weapons, one of the ones that I alluded to earlier, Savion Williams, which I love guys like Savion Williams.
Yeah.
because I love the Cordero Pattersons. Deebo Samuel is like the elite. Like that's where we've seen it work the best of these like wide receiver, running back hybrids. But Savion Williams, the Giants have never had a player like that. But the fact that we got him for a top 30 visit, awesome. I don't know if the Commanders will use him unless they want to do some like duo with like a Deebo Samuel and a Savion Williams, just have two jokesters in their repertoire. But also just the size combo from this guy. I think at the combine he measured in at 6'4", 222 pounds. I believe he ran like a 4.48 40.
Under a 4.5, yeah. That's 6'4".
Under a 4.5, yeah. And the thing is, he's coming out of TCU, which TCU wide receivers have not panned out. Cough, cough, Quentin Johnson. Somebody who
Jalen
I like
Reagor,
a lot.
Jalen Reagor.
Jalen Reagor, oh yeah. One of the Eagles legend. But the thing is, I think the reason why he would be drafted higher anyways, or like why people would be excited about him is not his – if he was just a receiver, I don't think he would be taken in the top 5 rounds. But the thing is, he's a joker. He only had 611 yards on 60 receptions, which is only 10.1 yards per reception. He also has a drop issue, but his ability to run out of the backfield and the creativity that TCU used him with. I mean, he had 322 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry, but 6 rushing touchdowns too out of the backfield. I mean, like they were using him in some of those like closer, shorter yard situations where you wouldn't really, a lot of these wide receiver running backs, you're looking at them for like, for these big explosive plays to come out of nowhere, kind of like a Hail Mary on the ground, like when you do like one of those reverses or you put a wide receiver in the backfield. But they put him in short yardage positions because he's a bigger guy and he can get those tough yards. Drops were an issue, which is why I don't love him. I think consensus, I just had him pulled off. Consensus, he's 87 on the consensus board. So I think maybe he falls to the Giants at pick 99. Maybe the Giants take him at the top of the 3rd. I think it's a little rich. If he hits his ceiling, then that's awesome. And like we look like it's a steal at the top of the 3rd. But I am just a little nervous because of his lack of route running, which is something we've seen out of TCU. Quentin Johnson had those raw traits, and I think that he looked a little bit better this year. His rookie year looked horrendous. Right. And especially the drops are rough. But he does have the ability to jump and like high pony ball because he already has that size, but he can make those big plays. And I think just having him come out of the backfield too and getting creative with the ball would be awesome. Like I think any team would be happy if you drafted. You'll be happy with Savion Williams on draft night because of what he can be. And he's just an exciting prospect. How do you feel about Savion Williams?
Yeah, another player who I think that is kind of positionless. Not truly. I think he's a big wide receiver ultimately, but the idea remains consistent. Get the ball in his hands in any way, which form you can. See how he can make a play and disrupt a defense. It's kind of funny when you think about the NFL. You want to get the ball to your playmakers, and you want them to catch the defense off guard and get yards with ease. And then when they are face adversity, a tackler coming, see if they can make a move on them. Seems like another player where however you get the ball to him, you're looking for him to make a play, make a guy miss, and you make one guy miss, depending on the defensive scheme, he could be off to the races. So it really is. It's kind of like checkers in a sense where you're really just moving pieces around and trying to see which ones can get over the edge on defenses based on speed, size, who can dominate. And again, another player who I like because later rounds, yes, if it's a weaker class and you're looking at second round, maybe not. End of third rounds, there is intrigue. I get the whole TCU thing at receiver. I'm a victim of it with Jalen Reagor. It's
Justin Jefferson, man.
Yeah. Oh my god.
But the thing is with Savion Williams, where are you going to take him? Like, you're really looking for that upside, like
Yeah,
it's like,
you need
and if you
him.
take a shot, like the amount of thrown away picks that we have in the 3rd round, 4th round, like I've seen some people put him in the 2nd round. I think maybe there's a team that falls in love with him, like the Niners. Maybe we're trying to replace Debo.
Maybe.
But,
yeah. Intriguing player.
The drop scare, but the thing is, he also makes really great contested catches. So it's like
right.
The drops just seem dumb. Like if you watched any of the plays, it's like it doesn't even make sense. Almost, I think he's like focused on maybe making the play after the catch.
Drops are one of the things for me where, again, I think that they are correctable. Although I'm sort of being proved that theory of mine has kind of been, I guess, disproved over years. Some guys just drop the ball, and you just can't, like, they're just destined to drop the football. So I'm not sure with that. Not a great quality to have as a receiver, of course, but there's intrigue for sure. Size, speed. Wow, that's
willingness to block. I think that he could also be a good blocker, like outside. He played
nice,
majority on the outside too. So even though like he played running back, you think that he'd be maybe doing more slot work. He played majority out wide. Which, if he could actually grow too as a player, as a receiver, he could be an X receiver too with his size and his profile. So
I think
he's intriguing.
I think that would be I would assume be the destination for him at 6'4", the slot. That's a big body, and in terms of like route, it might be just like things might just be like too slow development, even though his speed is still decent, but just his size. But we'll see.
All right. Where do you want to move next, Jeremy? I'll let you pick one of your
I'll go. So I try to do one guy in each round in a way. So this isn't like the most original pick. I have Mike Green out of Marshall, started off at Virginia, has a little bit of, has been accused, I think, twice of domestic violence, which is not good. And something the Eagles have said that they won't even touch. So kind of interesting because he seems like such a perfect Eagles player, but that's all I'll say on the Eagles. He's a guy, most productive edge in college football last year, 14 sacks, I believe, led NCAA. 17, that's what I meant. Yeah, 17 led the college in sacks. Small in frame, the height's fine, weight's a little low, but we've also seen that there are two types of defensive edges these days. The smaller ones like him, like Hassan Reddick, and bigger guys like maybe Brandon Graham and other guys too. They're just guys that I think he fits one side.
Shamar Stewart's,
Yes.
The Shamar Stewart's that people love for his size, but has no production.
Yeah. I think that, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if he's going to stop establishing the edge and stopping the run. Really intriguing prospect. It's not original. Every NFL team is falling in love with him as, we get closer to the draft. I assume it'll be a top 15 pick, maybe 10 to 20. It would be the boundaries I'd set for him. Really good player. I just think that Speed's there, has good twitch, as they say, quote twitch. It's nice how productive he was. He did go to Marshall, obviously. We won't get into why and that stuff. But sometimes, in some ways, productiveness doesn't translate to the NFL. I think in this case it will. I don't know how many sacks he'll have early on in his career. I know rookies for defensive ends or edges, it's on the lighter side. It takes like a year to get used to. Mm-hmm. But again, like we've seen, Sean, sacks aren't everything now at that position. It's about hurries. It's about QB hits. It's about putting the QB on his butt, like regardless if you don't get the sack. So I think he fits that mold too. And I think, just a really complete, strong player to be. And that's why he's getting top 20 pick. Why he'll most likely be that.
Yeah, I think if anything, if he falls, it's probably because of the off the field stuff. Which also, like somebody said, like maybe that's why he left Virginia as well because of issues there. He had. I'm looking at the numbers for PFF: 10 QB hits, 32 hurries. He also really good in run defense. But you can say that's at Marshall. the Senior Bowl, I think he blew up Josh Connerly and put him on his ass, and that was like a viral clip. And then I think he just left. I think his agent was like, look, Josh Connerly is like a borderline first round tackle.
Right. There's nothing else for us to get right.
They're like, you know what? People were wondering if you could do it at the level in the NFL. There's obviously more than just pass rushing drills in the NFL, but I think if you ask me, Mike Green or Shamar Stewart, like I was just saying, Shamar Stewart, who has like all these, he's like built, he looks like Myles Garrett essentially. Like he's built like he could be the best defensive end of all time. Yeah. But the production from Mike Green, I would lean more towards a Mike Green, in my opinion.
It's intriguing. I mean, it really is intriguing looking at a highlight clip, and the first 4 minutes are all his sacks. His last scene, like just getting around the edge with these and getting those sacks. So, yeah, he's pretty strong. He's a good candidate.
Yeah, and I think he's in play for the Cowboys at 12. Like they signed Dante Fowler, but like they could definitely use another elite edge rusher. I know that they have other needs, and people are mocking them: running backs, wide receivers, guards, everything, cornerbacks. But I mean, I think they could use Mike Green, and definitely the Commanders. Like, I just think if he's there at the Commanders pick, I'm sorry, Jeremy, I don't know if he's going to make it to the Eagles.
I would totally agree. I think it would be, honestly, Washington would have to trade up considerably. I just don't see him falling to 28 or wherever Washington's picking. Yeah, that would not be fun, because I think that he Dallas could use him too, but with Washington, I think that's a player who helps them out a lot with what they already have.
Yeah, and I think consensus I saw, and this is, like I said, it's moving. So I think this NFL mock draft database, they use all of the mock drafts too. So I mean, day to day, these things are changing. But the last time I saw him, he was at 17. I think you said probably could definitely go higher. You would take him higher. Like if I'm the Cowboys and they take him at 12, I'm excited. I'm not like, we could have had this. It's like there's a lot of good players throughout the whole draft, and drafting for needs not always the thing. When you can draft somebody who could be a all-pro edge rusher, which is what he looks like he could be in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about Mike Green?
No. Just, really good player, and it'll be interesting to see if he goes to a good team early on, how far that he can quote unquote falls, and the further he falls, he's only going to probably a better situation, more or less, too. So it's interesting to note.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I want to. I'm going to keep it in like kind of those early round prospects. I'm going to go to probably my highest rated prospect, and a guy that we've talked about, and I think every single Giants fan that I see, Instagram account, everybody has at least mocked Derrick Harmon to themselves once in the Giants community. And it's because if we have a second great defensive tackle, and I think Derrick Harmon can be a great defensive tackle day one, and also, hey, he models his game off of Chris Jones, kind of has those Chris Jones traits. I'm not saying he's Chris Jones. Definitely didn't have that combine performance that's very memorable about Chris Jones. But he is an amazing player. You know what I'm talking about. You know the video.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a fire hydrant. Anyways.
Third leg.
Yeah. Anyways, Derrick Harmon, 6'4.5" is what he measured in at the combine, 313 pounds, almost 35-inch arms. And just a unit, just one of the best defensive tackles that I think could fall to the Giants at the top of the second. I think that he's in play for the Eagles. Yeah. Luckily, the Commanders just keep stacking up defensive tackles. I think they're probably good. And I think if the Cowboys are going to go defensive tackle, they're probably more in the range of somebody like a Kenneth Grant or a Walter Nolan. If either of those guys fell too, I think Derrick Harmon would still be in the conversation of play because of
it's so deep in that position.
And run and pass. Yeah. I mean, Kenneth Grant is like built like he could be Dexter Lawrence. Like he's got that push and that size, and I think I really like him. But yeah, Derrick Harmon, I would be very, very happy to have him. Some people complain about his pass rush, like he had 5 sacks, like. 7 quarterback hits, 43 hurries. Like, his pass rush was one of his strengths. Like, he
Yeah.
just got through the defenders quick. Great in a 3-tech, right next to Dex. I mean, you get this guy at the top of the second. I think for a lot of guys, and I'll put myself in this boat too, I'd say he's my dream top of the second candidate. Because there's great defensive tackles, we're going to talk about more of them, that maybe the Giants could get. We're looking at ones that would be top of the 3rd round, maybe end of the 3rd round defensive tackle guys, because we have other needs. But Derrick Harmon is just, yeah. And he started his career at Michigan State, too, which I watched his tape from Michigan State. He still looked good at Michigan State, too. And then I think coming over to Oregon, good program. They have a history of defensive linemen. Kayvon Thibodeau, didn't play with him, but Kayvon Thibodeau. True. And there was a defensive tackle I liked over to Oregon last year who got hurt, Brandon Dorless, man. Totally different type of prospect. Like, because Derrick Harmon is a big guy, which is why I think I like him the most here. There's another guy that I want to talk about later that's like more of a specialized pass rusher, but definitely can also is good in the run defense. But just the size profile, his versatility of like skill set and run and defense. How do you feel about Derrick Harmon?
Harmon's great, and it sounds like he's falling a little bit, like you sort of indicated, Sean. I never thought he'd be available at 32. And no to the pod. Obviously, Sean's a Giants fan. I'm an Eagles fan. For the Eagles to take him at 32, that would be so exciting. Just Googling a picture of him, there's a picture that comes up. His helmet's off. He's holding his helmet and just like staring, like, just staring at the sideline.
Yeah.
He's built. Sign me up for that. I don't know if it's because he wears a linebacker number and he looks
55.
He looks bigger than he should be, but he is just a massive. And you're right about his just stature. Obviously, extremely productive at Oregon. Got to the quarterback too, which I like. That's important. I think that translates to the NFL. Again, you don't need defensive tackles to give you 10 plus sacks a year.
No.
If they do, that's nice. And they probably are Hall of Famers, honestly. We're talking Chris Jones. The fact that they can get to the quarterback, be disruptive, the ability to do that, plenty enough good for me. And what an athlete, what a player. I can't believe it seems like he's falling a little bit. Just a really deep, defensive tackle is just so deep. Walter Nolan, guys like that around him too, in that part of the draft. Just wild. And Derrick Harmon's another guy. I like that pick that you have on your list. Really, really, really intriguing. Really intriguing.
I think he's like not just on, he's on a lot of people's big boards. He's at right now consensus 29, and the 4th defensive tackle behind Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, which actually I see Walter Nolan, a lot of people are mocking him to the Eagles. Walter Nolan would be a great
I've seen that. I like that too.
My question to you, if they were both on the board, Walter Nolan, Derrick Harmon, what do you take?
I would trade all of my picks for the first pick in the second round, and then take
a both
back to back. Oh no, to not cop out, I guess I would say Harmon, just because I've always considered him. Nothing against Walter Nolan. I'd be happy with both, but I think we'd be in this situation where it seems a little realistic. Of course, a lot can change now, and then somebody takes him earlier than where the Eagles and Washington pick at the end, and you're like, duh, of course that happens. But I think I'd pick Harmon over Walter Nolan. It's close though. What about you?
Oh man, I don't know. I like Walter Nolan's traits, and I feel like he's like aggressive as hell.
Yeah.
I think I kind of like Walter Nolan because there's another defensive tackle that I feel like he's like the bridge between Derrick Harmon and this other defensive tackle that I like. And I don't know. I think that we built a lot of depth at the D-line position too. Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody that we would really want as a starter, but like I feel like some run defenders that we could throw in there that are better at the run. I think Walter Nolan could just be an all-around beast.
I think I would honestly, if you ask me tomorrow, I might change my opinion on it. It might change day by day. Really, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and that's why we don't have to sweat it. We just have to get excited when they eventually fall to us and we pick them.
Right.
That's, I think, all I got on Derrick Harmon. Where you want to go after that?
All right. Let me see what we got. I will go with. I I don't love this guy, but Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. I like versatility. I like guys that can you plug and play them in college in different positions if you can. That usually means offensive line, maybe other positions. So originally guard, I think he had to move out to tackle when Josh Simmons got hurt for Ohio State. Played well there. Just a guy who's versatile, who can play anywhere on the offensive line. It's not a sexy pick. It's a needed pick, and I can tell you firsthand, even though I always loved Landon Dickerson because if he went to Alabama, I knew what we were getting. You look at an early second round pick where you're taking a guard, and it's like well, I'll be honest, it's not sexy. But just to solidify that spot and not have to worry about it for 10, maybe up to 15 years, it ages well. So that's nice. What I think I have some notes on him.
While you're looking this up,
what's that?
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, he's 6'4", 315.
Yes,
33.5-inch arms.
Good guard size. A little small as a tackle. I still think he can play tackle. Look, obviously, he can play tackle. I think he can play tackle in the NFL too. He'll just have to, I think, develop a little more, get a little creative because it is a little small in height, but it's doable. It's not. We've seen it before.
He played well at tackle too. That's the thing. I mean, they won the national championship, played against good edge rushers.
Yeah.
I mean, I have this stat up, so I just want to. 2 sacks, 5 hits, and 2 hurries. That's for like the entire 2024. But he played 529 snaps at left tackle and 286 at left guard. So that was the majority playing at left tackle, which is pretty awesome.
Good hands, strong upper body, as you could see if you just Google him. Pass blocks well. I think run blocks decently too. Not sexy, not special. In the second round, good value for positions that everybody needs, of course. So, I think having versatility on your offensive line is just awesome. If you can have guys who can swing legitimately, and not where it's like, oh, he's a good backup guard. You can put him at tackle and he gets beat a lot. Legitimately play both. We'll see at the NFL level. I think he can. Just a versatile guy to help beef up the offensive line and not be an issue for your team.
I mean, would you guys take him at 32 and plug him in at guard?
So it's a good question. I think last case scenario they would. I think there are going to be so many good players at 32 for the Eagles to take that the way they would take Donovan Jackson would be to trade down a little bit, get more value in whatever way, and then take him maybe later on in the second round wherever they trade. So at 32, I don't know if they would do it. I think they'd try to optimize the value, but I can see him being an Eagle for sure. Yeah.
I can also see him being a Giant. Top 30 visit for the Giants. And I don't know, maybe somebody might poo-poo it, especially when we have all these exciting like Omarion Hampton or Derrick Harmons that we get at the top of the second, but Donovan Jackson at the top of the second, which is, I think, consensus right now, he's 37. I think the fact that he played so well at tackle, I do think there's teams that view him as a tackle, and maybe some people even view him over Josh Connerly as a tackle. You know, like he played well at one of the big schools. You know, that's one of the knocks on some of these other offensive line prospects is like their competition. But obviously, Ohio State plays good competition. I believe he did get kind of wrecked by Abdul Carter from Penn State, but that was like his first game playing tackle, I think, or one of his early games when he switched to tackle. Also, Abdul Carter, we're talking about like one of the best edge rushers in the class. It'd be pretty sick if we got Abdul and Donovan Jackson and they could just mold each other, you know?
That's right.
On the Giants.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I don't know. You keep saying it's not sexy, but somebody compared to some of the line picks that we've taken over the years for the Giants, he
Yeah,
sounds sexier than Josh Azudu, like
yeah,
who was drafted as a guard and then we made him play tackle and he couldn't even really play guard and was a mess. But Donovan Jackson, if he was drafted to a team like the Giants, maybe doesn't have to start right away because
right.
we do have Greg Van Roten at right guard. I mean, he played, but I think he only really played left guard and then left tackle. But I'm sure, I mean, the fact that he could switch from left guard to left tackle, I don't think he'd have a problem getting plugged in at right guard if he had to.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe then, the Giants signed some really bad swing tackles, but
Yep. That's
he
hard.
could also
Listen,
be a swing tackle. Yeah.
it's a hard. It is really a hard position to find when you're looking through it from the free agency lens. Um, Maybe the best thing is you draft a guy who you need a guard and they're a tackle right now. You confirm the guard for the time being, and then they go back to tackle when your tackle retires ultimately. So yeah, it's versatility. I'm telling you, with this offensive line, they love it, and it makes sense, of course, too. So
Yeah, I think he could be at play for the Cowboys too, to
yeah,
maybe fill that Zach Martin role in the second. I don't think he would be picked in the first. I think Cowboys fans would lose their mind, and rightfully so. But yeah, definitely could be in play for the Cowboys as a right guard in their second round pick. Is there anything else you want to say? Because I think he transitions pretty well to another. I got
very
two
good. No,
offensive.
go ahead.
I got two offensive tackles that I think will be kicked inside, similarly to Donovan Jackson. I think I'm going
Okay.
to start with the one that is ranked higher, where I feel like if they're both on the board and you're looking for that player, I could probably go either way. And that's Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State,
Yes.
who, I mean, let's be real. I didn't really know anything about him until the Senior Bowl. I'm not digging that far deep into the North Dakota State tape. But he was like a superstar at the Super Bowl or at the Senior Bowl. And now he's like, I feel like he's always getting drafted in the first round, but
Yes.
usually late first round too. I mean, he played tackle at the Senior Bowl, but I want to see. Okay, here he's played left guard, right tackle, center, right tackle, left tackle. This last year, all he did was play left tackle. But 2023, left guard, right guard. 2022 is when he played 14 snaps at center. They had him play center at the Senior Bowl.
Mm.
I think he was a very, very liked prospect, and I think he's got the power. He's got the power. He's got the versatility. Maybe the footwork's not always the best, but he's one of those guys. And I think NDSU didn't they produce Cody Mock too, right?
Yep.
The
Yep.
Bucks,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Who was also, and Cody Mock was just a mauler. I think he was a second round
Right.
pick, and he's panned out in the NFL. I mean, good size too. I mean, 6'6", 312, 32-inch arms.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
crazy.
think the shorter arms is probably why people want to kick him into guard
Right.
just for his frame, or center. Like that's the thing. I think if we came down to the top of the second round and we have Donovan Jackson and Gray Zabel, I think I'm leaning Gray Zabel because, dude, John Michael Smith hasn't really panned out yet. Like we're moving Evan Neal to guard. We have Greg Van Roten, who's like 36, who we like him because we have had terrible offensive line play, but
Right.
everybody else in the league's probably poo-pooing on Greg Van Roten. Like I think Gray Zabel could. I mean, he could play right tackle, perhaps.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't think he'd be long term, but I think center and guard is really where I could see him. And
Yeah, he'd be a pretty big center, which would be interesting at 6'6".
Yeah.
The weight is certainly there at center, but
Yeah.
the height would be interesting. I think he's a better player than Donovan Jackson, so I agree with that. Taking him there again, another another versatile offensive lineman who can swing. We'll see about the arms thing. If he could play tackle, I'm sure the teams would want to get him at the tackle position. But the fact that you can move him around is just helps helps his cause, and I think ultimately becomes a first rounder at the very very worst
Yeah,
early second round pick.
that's what I'm saying. I don't even think the Giants would pass on him, like over.
Right,
I don't know.
exactly. Early,
It
yeah.
really just, yeah, because he's consensus right now 28,
Okay.
and some people have the Seahawks taking him at 18. That's what this actually has right here. So some
Wow.
people, that's like one of the highest mocked is, but the Seahawks don't take guards early is like one thing that I've.
Well, I would assume, yeah, I would assume that they. I think taking a guard in the top 20 pick in a draft is, they have to be very very special. I would assume
Yeah,
the Seahawks are taking him in that with that pick as a tackle. Who they have? Charles Claw.
perhaps Charles Cross. Yeah,
Do they have anyone else on the other side?
dude, I actually no because I think they use Stone. I'm trying to think of their right
Yeah.
tackle, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would assume that pick
Yeah.
would be for, which is high pick to
Abraham Lucas.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember seeing Charles Cross when I did that Seahawks event last year, and I was like, man, that's who the Giants should have taken. That's him. Evan Neal.
Oh, no.
But let's be real. That draft, I think everybody thought Evan Neal, dude. I just remember watching everything the next day. Like, the Giants are turning it around. They get 2 blue chip players, and Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, I liked Evan Neal in Alabama.
Yeah. Where do you want to go next, Jeremy?
Oh, it's mine. Let's see. I'll go. Um. Again, this is. I'm going with Mason Taylor. Obviously everybody
Hell
knows
yeah.
Mason Taylor, tight end LSU. Good size, lighter kind of back. Definitely a receiving back. I'm not sure about his blocking. To be honest, I would assume it's not great. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's actually, kind of low.
Okay.
At least my PFF. I don't really watch all the blocking, but yeah.
It would. I do like a blocking tight end, and he would have to get better. Part of me also doesn't care. I think he's just really good as a receiving tight end. He moves the sticks well. He has great hands. He doesn't drop the ball. He runs routes well. Size is good. I think 6'5", awesome for a tight end, or good enough too. Just a really good player. Had Nussmeier throw to him last year, and that was a nice little duo. Just a really talented player, and a player where it feels like, I don't know if you can push him too far outside, but sort of just feels like an extra receiver on the field, even though he's a little bigger, of course, but sort of has that like feel as, just another hands catcher as a whole, and not just like a traditional older kind of form tight end. I just think he's really productive, really good hands, would benefit any team if they took him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, great hands, 55 receptions, 546 yards. I saw only one drop. So, yeah, amazing hands. Which honestly, the production you figure might be higher. Obviously, LSU had other weapons. Rest in peace, Kyron Lacey. That is sad. But yeah, dude, 6'5", 251. And you'd think that Mason Taylor would be a good blocker because of his father, Jason,
Yes.
like who obviously was just shitting blockers. But like, you just think, and especially like, dude, he does have the height and like the weight's pretty damn good,
Yeah.
But that's something that could be better. It is great that he has that size and that he has that contested catch. I think he had 8 contested catches. I saw pulled up here, which ranked him on 8th in tight ends, which is pretty good. And some good deep balls too. And although he seemed like he was more like around the line of scrimmage, his average depth of target was 8.6. So he's trying to get you those first downs. And with sure hands, I feel like that's kind of what you want in your tight end.
They want to get the ball quickly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. These, I think he only had 4 touchdowns. Touchdowns is kind of a subjective stat, though. It depends on the situation, the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and what we know about Brian Kelly, of course. So Not really concerned about that. I think that I think any good offensive minds could scheme him in the end zone pretty well in the NFL. So, just it's not like not a diamond in the rough kind of pick. I have a few of them I think coming up, but but I guess he was like just really intriguing. And a good guy at tight end too. That's not Loveland, that isn't Tyler Warren, who are awesome, but I guess he's right underneath them.
Yeah, for me, I kind of like Elijah Arroyo more, and that's just I don't know. I just like him as a receiver more.
Me too.
And just like route running and a guy, I'm sorry, I don't know all of the Cowboys and Commanders. I should, but we're talking about the prospects here. Elijah Arroyo is one of the top 30 visits for the Giants. So man, maybe you'll put in a good word for Damien Martinez for us. That'd be sick. But yeah, and I think also with the Giants and a lot of teams that were like looking at Cam Ward's tape that thought they could have him probably fell in love with some of his weapons. A guy that we're not going to talk about, Xavier Restrepo, had a slow 40, but I think
my goodness.
But dude, Xavier Restrepo was so great at like just getting open, you know?
Yeah, that's why
small, slow guy. I don't love him.
That's why these testings aren't exactly the end all be all, but it's alarming.
If they're good, I like talking about them. If they're bad, I like to kind of brush them over.
What do you finish with? Like a 4.8, a 4.7?
Yeah, it was like a 4.84, a 4.94. I mean, it was just like it's like
I would think he might be injured.
He said the reason why he ran is because he was testing at like a 4.51, 4.52 consistently, which is like pretty decent. Yeah. All right, what do you think? Diamond in the rough, or should I go somebody a little bit?
No, you tell me. Surprise me.
Screw it. I'm going to bring up my diamond in the rough, and I'm going to say this because Steve Smith is. I've heard about Torry Horton out of Colorado State, but Steve Smith is the one who like did a deep dive. And when it comes to knowing wide receivers and knowing tape, I don't know, maybe like one of like the best wide receivers, especially from somebody who, Steve Smith was a small wide receiver who just made his way through special teams and became one of the all-time greats.
Oh, yeah.
So he knows about route running. He knows about hands. He knows about all this stuff. And Torry Horton is a guy who he loved. Torry Horton tore his ACL, I think, sometime in September. And still ran a 4.41 at like 4 months later. Like crazy. I mean, he's got speed and his size. He's 6'3", 185. So lean, but tall, like great frame. And also he's lean and tall, but he fights through contact. And that's what one of the things that Steve Smith was saying is why he could get like that. That's how you get injured at the next level. When these big guys are trying to tackle you, you just keep on fighting. Like sometimes they do have to go down, but I like that fight, man. I love that fight. He also was great at, he had a punt returning touchdown in each of the last 3 years. And he only played 5 games this season before tearing his ACL. But a punt return touch, especially because he's a later pick. Let me see. I feel like I have him up here on the consensus. I want to see where he's going. But, I mean, he had 1,000 yards the past 2 full seasons with the Colorado State. I think they have him here at 109, actually right above Xavier Restrepo and Tez Johnson, 2 polarizing prospects. But Torry Horton, I mean, he's a leader too. Like he was beloved at Colorado State, which I think you want to see with some of these guys that fall, that are a little bit later. You want to see their willingness to get better. I just like him. And he has great hands too. Like I'm just pulling up all of his stuff here. But Torry Horton, I think, is one of those if we don't get Travis Hunter and we don't get a wide receiver in the early rounds, I think somebody in the top of the 4th, I feel like Torry Horton, even at the end of the 3rd, I think he's going to be that good. I just don't know where he is on everybody's big board. But let me pull up some of his other stuff here. Yeah, and the one thing I was looking at too was the games that he played this year before he got injured, and production wise was kind of limited against Colorado and against Texas. So 2 of the bigger schools, but
Right.
like he's had that production throughout the other years. So, and like I said, like he fights through, and he plays like a lot of like he plays in the slot, he plays out wide, he moves them all around. I think that he's majority out wide, which is what we'd be looking for. I think we need more of an out wide receiver because we have Wandale, who's only a slot receiver, and
Right.
also like you want to get Malik Neighbors out in the slot. But Torry Horton could be good on any of these teams, like especially with a late round, like a good wide receiver in the later rounds is a good wide receiver. If he ends up being a perennial, 600, 700, 800 yard wide receiver in the 4th round, like a Darius Slayton type gem
Oh,
steal,
totally. Yeah, yeah,
then that's what you want. And he's a good guy, so like I
yeah.
think he'd stick around on a team. Like I said, I like his size profile, even though he's slender. Like he plays tough, plays hard. Yeah, I like Torry Horton, man. And like I said, good, and good. Like contested catches too, screens. They use him all over the place, and he's just a versatile wide receiver. Any thoughts on him?
I've seen his name a few times for sure. Sounds like an intriguing prospect. Especially for the fact that later rounds, I think the emphasis on this is the value in the productiveness you can get later on in the draft as a 4th, 5th round pick. Maybe not 5th, but like at that
No,
part
it could
where
be 5th. Yeah, dude, he could be
yeah,
6th.
where you're
Maybe
getting, it's
people
like
are scared about the ACL.
there's
Yeah.
just there's a lot of talent in the 7 rounds. It's about getting guys who hit, and it's about getting guys who really hit in their own way in the later rounds who can contribute early on. Um, and in a weak wide receiver class, he definitely seems like a good option for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Like, there's some guys that are behind him too that I feel like some teams might like more, like Dante Thornton, who's like that big body,
Right.
you know, but like that gimmicky Tennessee doesn't really have the route running. Ty Felton, who's kind of like a field stretcher too. Pat Bryant, who a lot of people love, like Nick Nat. Like, there's
Yeah.
other when you get that far down, I feel like in the draft it's more like what the coaches see and what they want. Like it's like the flavor of the wide receiver. And
Right.
For me, I think Torry Horton is somebody who I could see thrown into the mix with the Giants.
Mhm.
And yeah, just one of those, just a good wide receiver all around.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. Who you got next?
I'll go pound for pound, or not pound for pound. I'll match you in position and a little bit diamond in the rough. Although again, some of these guys are really getting like good press in the last few weeks, which is good ultimately.
Yeah.
Kyle Williams, receiver, Washington State, 5'11", 190, fast. He's going to run, what was it, Sean, 4.38?
Yeah, I got to
Something
pull it
like
up
that.
right here. No, that wasn't the one. Other Williams. Yeah, 4.40. I mean, that's
Okay.
that's still damn good. Like everybody likes
Yeah.
to think that like
It
4.4
like
is a fast
it sounds
40.
like his camp thinks they could sound like they could get even maybe even faster. Maybe he was dealing with injuries, I think, during his
Yeah.
40. But interesting prospect for sure. They got the ball out to him at the line of scrimmage. Competition wasn't amazing, and I think that he had a lot of breakout runs where he was able to juke guys at the line of scrimmage and then make guys miss on tackles. I think that's part of the product of the opponent. Now, good to have. We'll see how that translates into the NFL. But again, a nice little option where get him the ball in space, see what he can do, see if he can make guys miss. He caught, I forget the stats, it pretty productive. I think 70 catches, 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I think 14 touchdowns. Yeah,
14 touchdowns, dude.
17, 1,200, 14. So average 17 yards a catch, which is awesome. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know how, obviously, I don't think that translates in the NFL to the extent of how close to those numbers he can get. We'll see. I think there's a major drop off, but he dominated college, which, it's one of those kind of gadgety receivers who doesn't have great size, but he tries to make up with it with his speed and playmaking with his feet. And in a weak wide receiver class, like we've mentioned, he's a nice little option later on, probably third rounds, maybe
Yeah,
second.
I think so.
I think I've seen some second too, but I would think maybe third round. I guess if the
Yeah, I think
position there, so go earlier. But yeah, just a guy who gets in the end zone at that size too, which is awesome. I know there are different
yeah.
ways, deep balls, but um, really productive and someone who I think NFL teams would love to have a spot, wide receiver 4 to start off, wide receiver 5 maybe even early on slot. Who's to say, I think you could do
Yeah.
that, but just getting him on the team, getting him cheap for 4 years, developing him, I think and any of the 32 teams would love that for sure.
Yeah, I was looking. He played the majority of his snaps out wide, which I'd like to see. And a
Okay.
lot of people have compared him to like Odell Beckham Jr., but he did play a significant amount of out of the slot too. But his traits and his skill set is kind of like OBJ. OBJ wasn't the tallest guy, wasn't the biggest guy, but could move. Also, I think I saw somewhere he has like really long arms for his size, but I might be making that up. But yeah, Kyle Williams' consensus I just saw was 98, which I think is good. And I feel like, this consensus board isn't like gold. Yeah, I think he could go in the second round. I think he could go in the fourth round. And I think he's going to be a good wide receiver just based on his traits and based on his tape. I think he's going to be a good wide receiver regardless. Is he going to be 1,000-yard perennial? I mean, probably not, but he could be. Like, he has the skill set to be, which is, yeah. I mean, he looked damn good, and he played with Cam Ward at Washington State.
Yes. Some of that at 5'11", that size sometimes gets lost in the NFL at receiver. But what I can say is he did 5 years of college, was productive every year. Freshman year, 35 catches, 426 yards. Sophomore year, 42, 601, 40, 541. Senior year, 61, 842. And then last year, of course, biggest one jump, 70, 1,200. Had finished his college with 29 touchdowns. And the average, I mean, this is a guy who's going to be downfield. He's not afraid to go downfield and make plays. Averaged 12.2 yards a catch freshman year, then 14.3, 13.5, 13.8, 17.1. Wow, that just screams like a bold stat line to me. So,
and the yards after catch 8.4 is like,
yeah,
that was for 2024, but I mean that's good. Like, he's got that wiggle.
Yeah,
he's got that.
It's hard to run downfield, and as we've seen, and not a chirp, but like with Jalen Hyatt, and just it's just hard to get. It's the further you get away from the quarterback, it's hard to make plays. That's why averages for receivers, when you get to 15 and over, there's something special with that.
Yeah. No, I like Kyle Williams a lot. Would you? If he's your wide receiver 3, dude, I think he could easily jump Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice because Jahan Dotson also, not to make this all about the Eagles, is on his final year. The Eagles aren't going to pay him regardless. Maybe even if Jahan has a good year, I don't think they could afford him. You do 1 year of Jahan, and then you just sprinkle in Kyle Williams after that. Not a bad little option.
No, and I think he's a player, like, because he's just a good wide receiver who can be utilized all throughout the wide receiver rotation. I think the Cowboys could use him. I think the Giants could use him. I think the Commanders. I think any team could use a Kyle Williams, just a good wide receiver.
I would agree with Cowboys. Cowboys need hands, period, and playmakers. So, absolutely.
Yeah. I really wanted to talk about Jaden Higgins. I will not be talking about Jaden Higgins, but because I think he could go in the first round. But I think that he's been talked about so much, it's like there's been coverage on him. I just don't think the hype is as good as it should be on Jaden Higgins. But he's still got more prospects to go, so I'm going to sneak over here. I'm going to go probably a little bit earlier here. I'm going to go TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders out of South Carolina, the defensive tackle. And I just want to get the his exact combine size because it's all over the place. But I believe he's like, 6'4", 297 is what he weighed up at the combine. So honestly, not as small weight-wise as you would expect. Let's see. He had in this past year, he had 5 sacks, 9 hits, 19 hurries. So actually, if you look at it with Derrick Harmon and his pass production, it's very similar sack-wise, hits, hurries. But I just feel like he won really well in those like just getting past the defender, just with power. Like if you watch his tape, man, he is so fun to watch. He just like powers through people. He has powerful hands, even though he's maybe not the best with his hands. I think Derrick Harmon is maybe a little bit better with his hands, but the power and just like the relentlessness, man, he is just so fun to watch. And also, even though he's not like the biggest, he's not Kaleb Williams, he's so good at using that power to get past his defender that he's great in the run game. Like he had, let me see how many tackles for loss. I think I don't have it up right here, but he was a beast at tackles for loss in the run game as well, just getting through there. Let me pull this up because I do want to see. I know you like TJ Sanders too, so while I'm pulling this up, what do you have to say about TJ Sanders?
He's just a big body who always seems like he's interrupting something in whatever the offense is doing. If it's pass, but certainly against a run, he's beating the guy in front of him a lot, and it's just tough to run against him. Also seems like a riser in the draft, which is unfortunate because I think that it makes it tougher for teams like, I don't know, quote unquote, the Eagles to select him, because I think that he could honestly be second round pick. But
definitely. If he falls to the third, I just don't see him.
Right.
That good. Like
I meant when I say that, I mean like a higher second round pick too. We'll see there. But just another really good defensive tackle in this draft. Stop me if you've heard that before. But he's good. I think he could start right away too. But if not, if he's on snap limit early on, I think he contributes whatever he gives you.
Yeah, and he's been productive too for the past 2 years. So I think he was on people's radars going into this year. I mean, he had 7 tackles for loss this year, 10 the year prior, 5 sacks 2 years ago too. So 2 straight seasons of 5 sacks, which, like we were saying, that's damn good for a defensive tackle in college. Also they're not playing a full 17 game schedule. I think those were in like 12 and 14 games or around that area. 12 and 13 exactly. But yeah, he's just a great player. He's fun to watch. He's explosive, and if Derrick Harmon's gone at the top of the second, I don't care. I think his consensus, let me pull it up here, is definitely in like the 50s, I believe. But I mean, I would take him at the top of the second, is all I want to say there. He's out, 61, and he's actually behind Alfred Collins and Darius Alexander and Kaleb Williams, who I think are all good in their own right. But I just like the way TJ Sanders plays, where I would like him maybe over some of those guys, which could be polarizing, but I'd take him at the top of the second. And I think, aside from the Commanders, who I feel like are so deep at defensive tackle, I think all the other teams in the NFC East could go TJ Sanders there.
Totally.
All right.
It's all about the trenches. I think one of the things that one of the things that with the Eagles, unfortunately, that they displayed the Super Bowl where all eyes were on them and the Chiefs. I think that it's known that obviously it starts offensive and defensive line is sort of where you want to build your teams. I think teams really realized, hey, defensive tackles, the trenches are really more important than we even thought in terms of depth. Obviously, I think the Eagles had unreal depth, and we saw that a lot of them got paid, and it took a hit. But I think that that Super Bowl showed that like defensive tackles are major, and they set the tone from the start in many ways. So good draft for that, and we're seeing guys like TJ Sanders probably be drafted a little higher than usual, not because of skill, just because of the importance. I mean, high second round. That would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think, well, also defensive tackles are getting paid. Like Milton Williams got paid,
Yeah.
Like these guys are getting big money now too. So I think, and Milton Williams is great, but I don't think he's like. Before, I think you only think of like the Chris Joneses, the Dexter,
Right.
the top, the Jalen Carter soon. Jalen Carter's going to get a bag. Hopefully, hopefully not from you guys, from my perspective, but for you, yeah.
It'll be from us, and it'll be very expensive. It'll be probably the highest defensive contract in the Eagles' history. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be good. I know that you had another defensive tackle that I liked, so you want to just like.
I did. Yeah, this is, I'll jump to him. Omar Norman-Lott, Tennessee. Hate the school, of course, but I like him a lot because it seems like, unless he rises, we'll see. It seems like a good defensive tackle to get in the third round when a lot of guys are off the board. Maybe you get other guys earlier on of need. You can hold off on defensive tackle just because of the depth. And this is a guy where I think you still are getting a very quality player and able to tap into the defensive tackle draft market. Wait a little and still get a really nice player, address other needs higher on, maybe some playmakers here or there. But yeah, just I don't really have much on him, to be honest. I just know that he's just a really strong player. I think a riser too, where teams are realizing, hey, maybe he should be drafted a little higher than what we have him as. A little bit older, just turned 23. Kind of like that for some teams who have their defense set and don't really want to add a maybe 21-year-old. I think the few years makes a bit of a difference. As we've seen, I think Darius Alexander also fits that, who's 25, but in some ways, he's a little more mature than some of these 21-year-olds. But just a tackle just shows how deep this draft is and how later on you can get a disruptor, not massive, 6'2", 291, but hopefully that translates in quickness and a little bit of speed inside at defensive tackle, which is always welcome for any NFL team. So you probably want to have a little more beef around him, but if he has a little bit of quickness, a little more twitch at that position, nice to have.
Yeah, I feel like both, I'd say TJ Sanders and Omar Norman-Lott kind of have that Kobe Turner type of upside.
Yeah.
Omar Norman-Lott only played 225 snaps. That's one of the reasons why I think he was kind of hidden up. And then the Senior Bowl, they saw the production that he had. And if you look at it, he had 5 sacks on only 225 snaps. He barely played for Tennessee. He was just a pass rusher, not really playing on running downs. So he's kind of a specialized player in a kind of a rotation, which is why I think he'd be in the third round. But I feel like he's a good enough player where maybe he can earn some more snaps in running downs. But yeah, 4 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 9 QB hits, and 13 hurries. That's only on 225 snaps. Like his success rate as a rusher, as a pass rusher, was unreal. So I think he's somebody that will, if he's utilized properly his rookie year, people will be like, how did he fall to wherever he fell? And he's 81 on the consensus board right now. So mid-third.
Maybe 2 thoughts that I have is maybe you could swing him out as edge here or there. Maybe not. If people already know that they can't do that, so be it.
Yeah.
What I can tell you is if he goes against smaller guards, he could be a problem with that speed and that power. So that's pretty awesome if that can work out for sure.
Yeah. No, when you sent him over, I was like, yeah, that was somebody who I really wanted to talk about because I think if we don't go defensive tackle, and maybe even if we do, top of the third for the Giants, it's like Alfred Collins, who's a totally different player. And
he's a little weird too.
He's just he's more just like a giant unit, like really a run defending guy. Doesn't really offer much in pass.
Won't get to the quarterback at all. Right.
Yeah, but he's just a big body to make a freaking wall of man meat. That sounded weird.
Something.
Yeah, like Attack on Titan style, not
something to
else,
that.
Yeah. But I think for me, it's always more exciting to get to the pass rushers, even if there's the pass rushing defensive tackles. That's why I like TJ Sanders. That's why I like Omar Norman-Lott.
Yeah. I think having both is better than just being a run stopper, especially because if you're not special, if it's just because of your size, other teams can game plan around that too a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, I went through all my defensive tackles. We're getting down here to the. You know what? I'll stick in the trenches to finish this one up. It's somebody that I've talked about before. It's Marcus Mbow. Who,
yes, I like him a lot. Yes,
coming out of Purdue as a right tackle, I believe. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to get his official measurements here, but he coming out of Purdue, probably like a third rounder, 6'4", 303. 32-inch arms, so like not the longest arms, which is why I think a lot of people want to kick him inside. I talked about it. Trevor Sikkema brought this up, that he grew up a big Bulls fan in Chicago and modeled his game after Derrick Rose, which is why you see he has amazing footwork. The thing is, though, he does kind of have a high pad level, and because he's kind of lighter, he kind of gets moved around despite that good footwork. Sometimes he gets loses the edge, but his athleticism, like his athleticism and his footwork, that's why a lot of people want to kick him into guard. And I think that's, if you draft him, that's where you want him. It's good that he played at tackle, but he also played, right tackle all throughout. I think 2022, he played right guard. So that's when he had those snaps at right guard before he moved over to right tackle. And I believe he had a leg injury too, but then just in 2023. But he's a good blocker, somebody I'd take at the top of the third round, and somebody who I think would be good. And because, he's played the right guard, yes, he played right tackle, but I think people are drafting him for guard. Maybe he could develop, and he could fight and win that spot. You're not just drafting him in the third round and plugging him in, like at least for the Giants' sake. But there's been third round draft picks that have been moved around. Cowboys, you're thinking Cooper Beebe. I think he was third or fourth round, but Cooper Beebe played pretty good at center after being moved around. Marcus Mbow right now is 68 consensus too. So I think if you're the Giants, you get him top of the third. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I could see him getting into the second pretty easily too. With his intangibles, his size, I think he's a guard. Would be interesting if you could develop him as a tackle here and there, maybe a swing tackle. And there is that possibility too. It doesn't seem unreasonable. I think he's awesome. I think he's a really cool prospect at guard that late in the draft too. And it's all relative, of course, but like end of second round into the third. Wow, I think that's a pretty talented player you're getting. Something to be said about getting someone really athletic at the guard position. I would think that would only help offensive lines. Good guard size. Again, I think you could do it at tackle. It'd be a little harder, but I think people are right with guard. Good pick for this list for sure. He's on my list for the Eagles. I think it's just great value. End of the second round into the third too. Wow. Yeah. Really, really, really awesome.
That's the thing. I feel like we have both been talking that we have similar needs, and you draft ahead of us in the sense that, like, if we're trying to get somebody at the top of the next round, that I feel like you guys could always snipe. But I
noticed that like a half hour ago, and I'm happy for that.
Yeah, because you guys do love to. I remember Dallas Goedert traded him for the Cowboys.
Totally.
But he's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker, which is why. But he did a lot of pulling outside at right tackle too.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's with that athleticism, you kind of like assume that. But yeah, he finds defenders in the run game. You know, he pushes through. He plows people out of the way. I was watching his run tape, and he's like, he's a fun guy to watch. He does look slender too, kind of on the field. He looks more like a guard to me.
I think when you have athletic guards like that, if they're great at run blocking, the sky's the limit what you can do in terms of your offense and running the ball and really pounding it. I guess I'd want them to be better at that than pass protection. I think you could get away with it at the guard position. Obviously, if you're going up against an Aaron Donald or whatever.
Or Omar Norman-Lott.
Yes, or that. You can't, you have to make adjustments. But I guess, work on the pass blocking for sure. It's good that he has run blocking established. That works out on defense too. Run blocking kills defensive line throughout a game. And because of his athleticism, I'm sure that absolutely helps him get through and dominate for 60 minutes more or less. So yeah, that's great for him to have already in this bag.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely a big fan of Marcus Mbow.
Yeah, me too.
And I like the name. I like the alliteration, even though I don't even know if you pronounce the M. To be honest, probably should have looked that up.
Yeah, it's a good question.
But also, one last thing is because of the athleticism at guard, maybe he would be better against those smaller pass rushing specialists, that I feel like win with their athleticism. Maybe he could take on more of an Omar Norman-Lott or a TJ Sanders and kind of, although TJ Sanders I feel like is more power in his rushing. But yeah, just wanted to little note that, being optimistic here. Yeah. What are you thinking?
I will go with a guy. I know I stole him from you. I know you like him a lot. You've been on him for a few months now, so got to give Sean credit there. Shavon Revel Jr. from ECU, cornerback, injured last year, torn ACL, I believe. In today's game, they have perfected the surgery, so it really isn't that big of a deal anymore. In a way, it's kind of nice if you're trying to find the positives. He essentially got to rest last year, which I think in some ways is nice. His length is awesome. His height is awesome. He's a little lean, but not awful either. It is what it's. I don't think it stands out in a bad way too much. Speed's great. Great athlete, good ball skills, small school. But again, we saw guys like Sauce go to Cincinnati, Quinyon Mitchell go to Toledo. If you can play, you can play that. And that's a position where you'll stick out like a sore thumb if you can't play. I think Revel, especially because it seems like he's going to go in the second round, probably early second round, because of the injury, I'd assume. Really, really, really good prospect. I love the height. It's kind of funny, but the height, it doesn't seem like he sacrifices that much speed due to the height. Physical
6'2",
guy,
194.
Yeah, physical guy too. Even though the frame is a little frail, I guess. But you called it a few months ago, and he's nice. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I have well, the graphics will be up, but I have these. So in those 3 games he played, he had 2 interceptions and 2 pass defense. 2023, where he played a little bit more, 4 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 13 pass defense. But he's got that length, man. He's got the length where I feel like a lot of people are comparing him to a Tyreek Woolen, Yep. As somebody, which Tyreek Woolen was a later draft pick, but obviously had all that production, great player. And I feel like whenever somebody like that comes into the league and they're like a steal, people are like, oh, okay, I'm looking for somebody with those traits to kind of be like a Tariq Woolen. I think that's kind of Shavon Revel. I've heard good. And a top 30 visit for the Giants, too, which is interesting. I'm curious to see, it seems like we kind of addressed corner. Maybe we get Travis Hunter. Who knows? Maybe we give up on Deonte Banks. I think that there's still a lot there, even though he didn't play great as a 1. I want to see how he does as a 2. But, I mean, Shavon Revel, dude, is Yeah, especially before we signed Paulson Adebo as somebody who I really liked. As just like I feel like he could be raw and come in,
Yep.
and yeah, and he might benefit from going to a team like the Eagles if he fell to them in the second round, where like you guys kind of have a rotation of cornerbacks as it is, and so he's not thrown into the fire if he's not totally ready from that injury slash. Still adjusting to NFL, going from ECU. Like you said, like it happens. Like Quinyon Mitchell was great, but just seeing if it translates quickly.
Yeah, for every Quinyon Mitchell you get, there are 50 or 60 who are the opposite of that. And, it is a very hard position. It might be, obviously, quarterback, I guess, is the hardest. But in terms of technique and performance, I would say cornerback is probably the hardest position to play in the NFL. What about you, Sean? Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, dude. I sucked at football, and when I played football, they put me at cornerback because I was like kind of skinny,
Okay,
and wasn't even good at catching the ball. So they're like, okay, well maybe you can like
good spot. Yeah,
I suck too, dude. Then they're like, okay, well maybe you're a little slower. Maybe you could play linebacker. Like, no, you suck at that. I ended up playing D line, which is.
There you go.
I played really good. Did not play my assignment. I just tried to squeeze through the fucking fatties, dude, and get to the quarterback. And then even then, I usually fucking suck. No, I think corner is like very difficult, especially like with how the way that these wide receivers. I mean, they're technicians. That's why wide receiver is becoming one of the highest paid positions. So yeah. Did I bring up the consensus? Yeah, I think I did, right? I think he's 38 on consensus board. So yeah, kind of right in that range.
Right.
Where but because of the injury and because of the small school, you could see it shift around. And I wouldn't say it's a deep corner. Like, I don't think it's strong at the top at cornerback, but I do think there's a lot of good prospects sprinkled in, which could go to my next guy. Do you want to?
Yeah, go for it.
Switch it over. Yeah, I got freaking Cobee Bryant, man, which like, Cobee Bryant spelled Cobee out of Kansas. And, if you watched our show, we weren't a big fan of Emmanuel Forbes, but size-wise, he kind of looks like Emmanuel Forbes, 6 foot, 180 pounds. The thing is, he's also – but he's – and some people say he plays a little bit like Emmanuel Forbes because he's a ball hawk. He is a ball hawk. But consensus 138, that's the thing. He's not to be reached on by the Commanders in the first round. I hope. They got a different GM now. But, I mean, if you can get him in the 4th, 5th round and watching him play, like, I remember watching Emmanuel Forbes tape, and one of the knocks was, like, a lot of the balls were, like, falling into him. Cobee Bryant is not that type of cornerback. He is aggressive. Like, he is going into there. And even though he's small, 6 foot, 180, he is quick in the run game. Like, he actually is pretty good at getting – like, his run defense grade is a 91.3. You wouldn't think a small guy like that would be like that, but he's because of how aggressive he is, man. So aggressive. And he's so fun to watch where, like, I would love him in the 4th round. I think he's just – and he's a shit talker. Apparently in the Shrine Bowl, there's all these reports of him just like destroying people, like these wide receivers' egos, and just, like, demolishing them too. He's got the Mamba mentality. He's got the name, he's got the mentality because he's freaking killer. He also had 2 Wait. I'm on the right thing, right? Yeah, 2 touchdowns. Oh no, allowed 2 touchdowns. I thought he had a pick 6. Let me pull this in here. Where's his interception? Yeah, no, 4 interceptions in 2024, 4 interceptions in 2023, 3 interceptions in 2022. So let me just pull up. I believe he was only a 3-year player, but yeah, he is a ball hawk, like consistently a ball hawk. And the Giants are looking for that. I think every team's looking for that. I don't know. I love this guy, man. I didn't think I was going to like him because of how small he was. Yeah. He finished, his entire career, 4 years with 13 interceptions. He even had 2 interceptions in his rookie year, but yeah, he's, and he gets tackles for loss too. He had 4 in 2024, 5 in 2023. So just an aggressive, fun player, and like somebody who I like watching at corner, Yeah.
Anyways, obviously, great name, of course.
Lower Marion.
I guess you mentioned it because of his size, but it always amazes me when you see these projections on guys, and it also just shows the depth of the draft and how many good players there are. But to see a fourth round grade on him, just it always amazes me. Where it's like, wow, it's a talented player you can get in the middle of the draft. I don't know in terms of slot, in terms of outside, but starting slot is or the slot cornerback position is now a starting position in the NFL when teams are in different packages, and most teams don't. I would assume most teams aren't using base anymore.
Yeah.
So you can get a starting cornerback in the slot, fourth round, good value.
I do want to say because he did line up all of his majority in the corner, on the outside corner.
Okay.
Because he played 641 snaps at corner, 42 in the slot. But I think because of his tackling and his aggression, I think that he would be good in the slot too. Right. I think when you see a smaller corner, a lot of people like to pigeonhole him in the slot. And I could see him dominating there. I could see him being moved around in a rotation, if he was drafted to the Giants. Obviously I'm in Giants mode, but I think every team could use a Cobee Bryant. But yeah, continue.
I think, just last thing, I think the NFL might force him to adjust and move inside as a cornerback. But, the fact that you could try him out on the outside to start off, power to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think also we watched Emmanuel Forbes try to cover A.J. Brown being a more slender guy. And he weighed in heavier than Emmanuel Forbes, just to be clear. But when you look at him, he kind of looks like he's got that tall, slender man look to him. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah. And like I said, the consensus is low. I mean, even if the Giants, quote unquote, reached on him at the end of the third, I think that there's other players that I really like in that area, but I wouldn't be pissed off. I'd probably still be very excited about him.
Sure.
Yeah.
All about development.
Yeah. Where you want to go next?
Well, I think we've waited long enough. And I'm telling you, big name, of course. I'm not afraid to say it. And I think the Giants should do this because they don't have to take him with their first round pick. Yes, I went to Alabama, although his last year in Alabama wasn't special, so I'm not too biased. There is some concern, but my goodness, Jalen Milroe as a prospect, where you can draft him. Oh my God! If I'm an NFL team, I'm so excited to get a kind of talent like that in the second round. First round, if I can get one player before him and then draft him in the second round, wow, am I excited. Big arm, not the most accurate, but he can hit guys downfield, and he's done it a number of times. Definitely some work on the accuracy, but his ability to move with the football. The NFL is changing. It's about your quarterback being dual threat. It is the dual threat era. And Jalen Milroe, this is a big statement. When he gets to the NFL, he might be the best mobile quarterback as soon as he's drafted. No disrespect to Lamar Jackson, he's great. No disrespect to Jalen Hurts, who's awesome and very smart at running too.
Yeah.
I think from a pure
or Jaden Daniels, you got to say Jaden Daniels
or Jaden Daniels. Yeah. I give him a little more credit as a passer, but I'll add Jaden Daniels too.
Yeah.
Wow, Milroe is fast. He can give you yards. He can move the chains just with the feet. And he would be such a headache to game plan for. Now, obviously, if you force him to throw, it's a little different. But his escapability, just the fact that he can escape and get out of things, I think he could change football. I don't now. Again, he has to be better. He must be better as a passer, as a pure passer, as a quarterback, as a thrower of the football as a whole. It's not awful. He's had success, and he has a rocket arm. You're going to have to develop him. You're going to have to coach him up. I totally get that. His threat, and just the idea of him standing in the pocket, nothing's opening up, and then the last second he decides, okay, I'll use my feet, I think would be crippling to defenses. if the Giants were to take him with their early pick in the second round, I just think that's great value and a great option for them to have. I'm not saying he's going to be successful. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I think as a prospect in the second round onward, why not? Especially if you need a quarterback. I think he's awesome. I think he can change the game even when the accuracy isn't there in a game. If he's throwing for 60, 62, 63% accuracy, which is low. I just think with his feet, and obviously you have to be concerned about injury too. I get that. But with his movability, just being able to change the game with one play with his feet, it's going to be, I think it can be tough to game plan.
Yeah. I am a Milroe guy.
Yes.
In this second round. And we talked about him early, especially, after that Georgia game, he was like a number 1 overall pick in a lot of these mock drafts because he looked amazing. He fell apart in the second half of the season, I think, after the Vanderbilt game, which also
coaching also. I'll just interrupt.
Yeah,
coaching did not like losing Saban. I think Saban found something in him last year. They went to the playoffs that year. I don't think DeBoer was great for him this year, so I think coaching will be big. But yes, go on.
Yeah, the thing is, when you talk about, and by the way, his hands grew. So if anybody shut him off after the Senior Bowl where he had short hands, they grew 9 3/8. That's pretty decent. But yeah, 4.37 40 at 6'2", 217. We said it before too, where if he fails, he could legitimately become a running back, wide receiver. But yeah. I'm more excited. Obviously you're not picking him second to turn him into something else, but that's exciting. But I thought we could maybe get him in the third round. Consensus, he's 41, which I thought was higher than, I know that the PFF board had him pretty low. Yeah. But he's probably the most mocked second rounder to the Giants. And I'll tell you what, Jackson Dart on the board, Jalen Milroe on the board, Jalen Milroe every time for me.
Right.
I just think, I like the traits. He's obviously I don't think he's going to start a single game, but it doesn't even matter if Russ gets hurt. They're probably going to keep Jameis in there and just develop. But he has the traits and the tools, the big arm and the running ability. That's Brian Daboll. That's his whole thing. Everybody thinks that he's this great molder of quarterbacks with what he did with Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the ideal prospect. Had a top 30 visit. There's only 3 quarterbacks, I think, right now that have had the top 30 visit with the Giants, and that's Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe, Shedeur Sanders. I think Cam Ward canceled. Maybe Jackson Dart's in there. I don't know. I hope not. I really don't. I don't love Jackson Dart. I don't.
Yeah, me too.
But dude, the big arm and even 64% completion rate. His whole thing is the accuracy and intermediate, but it's not he also had some great. I think the laser throw, and you could probably say this, where he'd short balls, he would laser the ball.
Yes.
And not really have that touch on it, and throw it so hard that he's breaking receivers' fingers and they're dropping the ball.
Yes.
Which, dude, I think that's all stuff. Dude, he sits for a year. I thought it was crazy when he got invited to or that he came out after kind of a rough season. Ended with 11 interceptions, 16 passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the year before, he only had 3 or 4 interceptions, I think. So it's not like he's some interception guy all the time. I think he just kind of fell apart towards the end there. I don't know, man. The traits, I've been thinking about it more and more, and I think I'd just be really excited to get, because I don't think he's going to fall to the third anymore. I thought he got invited to day 1 of the draft, by the way, and Todd McShay is talking.
I think he could be.
There's a lot of rumors he's going to get traded into the first round to get that 5th-year option.
Maybe with the Eagles, who did that after they won the Super Bowl in 2018, where Ravens traded up to get that 5th year for Lamar Jackson. So I can see it. I also think the Eagles, I think there's so much talent that's going to be dropping to the Eagles that they would view as a first-round pick that they don't do it. But I can still see it with other teams too. I can see Milroe being a first-round pick, pretty physical too with his size. Gotta coach him up on the accuracy stuff and just as a pure passer, no doubt. But he does have some skills with that. Even
and he has the traits. He has the traits.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If it was he runs well, but he can't. He has he has a rocket arm. So just fill in the depth from his great accuracy and deep ball, and just fill it in, like just work on that touch. He's got a whole year. I think honestly the best fit for him right now would be the New York Football Giants. If in terms of just like, yeah, you could argue our O-line, but in terms of developing, having a year to sit and like having neighbors, dude, I think Theo Johnson is going to really have a big blow up. We draft Torry Horton at the end there. If we get Travis Hunter, I mean, freaking game. If we got Travis Hunter and Jalen Milroe, I mean, man,
that'd be interesting.
What an exciting offense. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to draft him and I thought he would fall because of the way he was at the PFF board was like at the end of the third. And I was like, oh, damn, had to take him at the top of the third. I think that's a slam dunk. You take him at the top of the third, no matter, like, you don't have any hesitation. But I think even if you take Jalen Milroe, but I think if you take him at the top, I don't think he's going to go there. And I think, like you said, a lot of people think people might, and he's like the most mock quarterback to the Giants. And a lot of people agree in that he's a great prospect for the Giants. And as somebody who loved Mike Vick growing up, like he's the reason why I got into football. Loved Michael Vick, not for the dog, for his football play. I liked him play it on NFL Street. I love dogs.
Sean
band's named Overboy in the Street.
Was into the dog fighting, not the football.
I mean, dude, his off the field athleticism. That was awful.
Sean is a dog owner.
Yeah, and a dog lover. Like I said, my band is named after my dog, Doberboy and the Strays. I take her everywhere, dude. I love Honey. She's the freaking best. We're going to go on a walk after this. I'm excited. But yeah, no, I love Jalen Milroe, man.
He is a risk, but I think I just think with Joe Schoen, I think that he is waiting for the perfect situation, and it's just not going to come. And but if Milroe's available early second, perfect enough in my opinion. I just think it makes.
And it quiets the Giants, like the Giants fans, because there's a lot, and probably John Mara too. It's like, well, what about the future? We have Russ for now, but like, what? Russ plays good, but then we have to pay him, and like,
right? Russ is old too.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm excited for Russ this year just because of like our terrible quarterback play. But yeah, I mean, do you think any team? Oh, we didn't even talk about Joe Milton going to the Cowboys, but I think it's funny too that we kept talking about Joe Milton as a traits guy last year. We kept in a mock drafts like, just take him because like, who knows what it could be. Then everybody wanted him. The Giants were reportedly in on him too. So hey, big arm Joe Milton, big arm Jalen Milroe. Yeah. Maybe not the best in like in between, but want to develop. If the Giants were in on Joe Milton, I mean, obviously probably wasn't going to be traded for a second. I think it was like a pick swap, but like,
right.
I think Jalen Milroe is definitely in the wheelhouse. I had two prospects, but we're almost at 2 hours, so I think I'll just do one more. And then, you have two left or just one left?
I have two left, but I can be quick with them.
Yeah, that's cool. You know what? Then I'll start with my the one that I was hinting at. I already said Kaleb Johnson out of Iowa, and Kaleb Johnson is top 30 visit with the Giants. Talked with him at the combine, but on top of that, he's related to not related, but the Giants hired Iowa's running back coach, Liddell Betts. Iowa. We also have an Iowa running back, kind of, considering Tyrone Tracy Jr. was a wide receiver at Iowa.
Yes.
They wanted him to be a running back, too, and he said no, and then he finally switched to running back at Purdue.
That's funny.
But yeah, Kaleb Johnson, 6'1", 224 pounds. I think where people have been falling on him as a running back is the 4.57 40-yard dash. But if you look at him, and like he has a slow 10-yard split too, 1.62. So, but if you look at him and you watch him, he kind of like gets into that gear, and he's kind of a powerful running back. Maybe it's because he wears number 2 and has like somewhat dreads, but when I watch him play, sometimes he looks like Derrick Henry, especially when he breaks through contact and then just bursts down the field. He had 1,537 rushing yards, 21 rushing touchdowns this season, and 188 yards of 22 receptions. So not really he has good hands, like he catches the ball, but not, he's not like a route runner, but you can get him into space, on these swing passes and screens. I think he would be good. We talked about the yards after contact with Damien Martinez. He was like not too far off, 4.42 yards after contact and 6.4 yards per carry. But he's just a breaking tackles type of guy, good vision. The one thing that like seeing how he fits in the Giants. He ran like almost entirely zone. Like all of his running plays were zone. I think I have a breakdown of it, but yeah, zone rushing. I don't have an exact breakdown, but even if you watch the film, you see him. He's majorly running zone running plays, which is outside, getting that edge, gets the vision, and just takes off, breaks a tackle, and takes off. But his production was awesome this year, and honestly, he has a high elusive rating here on PFF. A lot of this stuff I'm getting off PFF because I feel like they just do a great job, and they especially like grading stuff that you can't really measure stat wise. But sixth in yards after contact with 1,060, 28 carries of 15 plus yards. That's third out of all college running backs. So he's a power back too. I mentioned it earlier, not a great run blocker, which is weird. Like it seems like he doesn't even have like the vision for it, but he has the size where I think that could be taught. But if he gets drafted to a team like the Giants, Tyrone Tracy could be the third round back, and then you have Kaleb Johnson pounding the ball on first and second downs. But I also think he could become an all three. Like the way he's built, his skill set minus the pass blocking, I think he could be a 3-down block back for sure. Like I think he's going to be a great running back in this league, a perennial 1,000-yard running back. I think the Cowboys could take him. I think the Commanders could take him, and I think he could be their number one. And you don't look back. And if he's going to go in the second round, maybe he falls to the third. His consensus now is 58. There's a lot of running backs. I think people just are looking at different flavors of running back. Where do you see Kaleb Johnson? He's falling, and I feel like he's still going to be so good. So that's why I wanted to bring him up.
It seems like he got all the noise during the college football season, then completely lost it and has just been forgotten upon. He seems like a kind of guy who you might forget about him. Then he gets to the NFL. He's just productive from the start. I don't know. I remember him earlier last year of the season, and it's like nice little running back. Not little, but just
big boy.
Yes. I just think he's someone who will have a nice career in the NFL, be productive, even though he sort of seems forgotten upon. It happens sometimes, but he seems like one of those options.
Yeah, I think that because I don't think the Giants would take him top of the second. I think, we've shown considerate amount of interest in him. And I think with, we also have been looking into Quinshon Judkins and Cam Skattebo. I think that we're looking to take one of those guys if they fall to the third. And I think their ideal target is Kaleb Johnson. So I just don't know if he's going to fall to the third. Like I've kept on trying to mock him to the third in the Giants mock drafts that we do in the PFF. He never makes it there.
Yep.
The one thing that maybe it's just like because of how many running backs there are in the class, people will be waiting. There's other priorities. We're like it's probably shouldn't even be on the Giants' priority at the top of the third, but because of his skill set and I think his capabilities, like he's worth a second round pick.
Right.
I don't know. Am I frozen? Yeah, I don't know. I like Kaleb Johnson. Jeremy, your last prospect. Prospect. Where are you going?
I have two more. I'll make it quick.
2 more. Oh, that's fine.
Barrett Carter, Clemson linebacker. Backfield, gets to the backfield tackles for loss is hitting guys with the ball in the backfield early and often. A lot of times he completes a tackle. Other times he makes the initial hit where other people can make the play after him to, wrap up the tackle. Smaller end size, but I think that means a little more speed. Middle of the draft kind of player. I don't know. I'm just always intrigued with these Clemson hybrid linebacker kind of players. The Isaiah Simmons. What's his name? The guy the Eagles drafted.
Jeremiah Trotter?
Kavon Wallace, who wasn't that good, but I don't know. There's something about those Clemson players, those defenders who are it's just intriguing. I think Carter fits that mold too. As a guy you can put in on special teams early on, and then have him maybe even contribute on the field too.
Yeah,
I think nice little option in the middle of the draft.
Yeah, he's 109 on consensus board, and he gets after it. Rushing the passer, like 11 tackles for loss. I mean, that's not just rushing the passer; that's also stopping the run. The gap, 3.5 sacks. 12.5 total throughout his career. I did see that he struggled in coverage. That's like the one thing that, like, especially as one of those smaller hybrid linebackers, that's the one thing that worries. PFF has him as a 47.7 coverage grade, and that's out of 100. So definitely subpar coverage, but good in run defense. Like you said, like he gets after it. He has an 82 run defense grade, and it looks like that's kind of like the player that he is, just to stop the run. So I don't know. I like him. I didn't know anything about him. So when you sent him over, I did a little deep dive. So what do you think? 4th round for him, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
that's
so.
Yeah. But he's definitely a fun trade.
Early third day. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's a good transition for me. The last guy who I have, Carson Shwesinger, linebacker out of UCLA. And he's definitely a lot higher than he is probably top of the second. I think some people even maybe have him the first. Like, he's probably the number 2, I would say the number 2 linebacker behind Jahad Campbell. I think Jahad Campbell is like in a league of his own. But good size for a linebacker, 6'2", half-inch, especially these modern linebackers, 242 pounds. He just seemed like he played hard. And talk about another guy who is just good in the run, like good at getting the run and good at the pass rush. Like he was able to get to the quarterback like a missile. So I really, really dug that about Carson Shwesinger. I know that the Giants showed some interest. They had their linebackers coach go out to UCLA's pro day just to look at him. Pass coverage is actually not terrible. He did allow 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. That's the thing. Like he actually got his hands on the ball. And I think he could be moved around, mostly just kept in the box, but he did get pushed out to the slot, and sometimes they had him running off the edge too. He's a good player. Honestly, I think maybe the Cowboys, I know that they really addressed linebacker in free agency with Kenneth Murray, and there's another, I'm trying to think, kind of like a lower name, but a decent linebacker that they picked up. With DeMar Villanova shown out, maybe they still go Carson Shwesinger if he's there in the second round. I think that's good value. And maybe even the Commanders go Carson Shwesinger in the second round because Bobby Wagner is not going to be there forever. Played great for him this year. But
he also showed his age. I thought he showed his age a little bit in the NFC Championship game too, Bobby Wagner. Yeah, but Carson seems like a little bit of a riser too. He's getting up there in the draft stock.
Definitely a fun player. Yeah, consensus he's at 51. So, definitely. I mean, maybe because he's a linebacker he falls to the third, but I just don't see that happening because I think he really is like a cut above. And I like the way he plays. Plays aggressive. Seems like a good guy. Great flow. Good flow of the hair. And then we got one more for you, Jeremy. We're pushing 2 hours. This is a good one.
Last but not least, we have Kaleb Ransow, safety, Tulane. Some have him as a corner. I don't know what happens there. Overall, good size regardless. Fast, good physical build, physical player too, and tackles like crazy, which in the secondary seems to be a lost art in the NFL. So nice to have that quality. Especially with some of these lower names, I really focused on the depth, and to be able to get players like that who have a little bit of versatility between safety, corner, good size, physical, good speed, to get that in maybe the 6th round, maybe 7th. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I mean, he's fast. Yeah, 4.3, 340. I mean, that's like he's got traits.
The 40's insane. Just like a 5th round to 7th round, maybe projection is it's pretty loose, but just that as a whole, to get that late in the draft, that's a nice little option for safety as a backup. Someone who I think could emerge maybe as a starter if they once they get more of a fitting in the NFL, develop as a player. But a lot of good traits from him that late in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking into him because I wanted to. I mean, his stats, like he has the traits, 4.3, 340. He's fast, but only one career interception, so doesn't really get his hand on the ball. He had 6 forced
Yep.
incompletions last year, so I mean he does break up passes. Currently 206 on consensus board, so I think that 6th, 7th round.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he could be I think you bet on that, and when you're already that far down in the draft, I feel like you see those traits. And I saw that he allowed like a 96 QBR, which is really high, so that's not great. But like I said, I think that late in the draft, you see those traits and you see if you can develop them. You're not drafting somebody in the 6th and 7th round to be a starting corner year one.
Yeah, I think interceptions are, and a lot of I've said this before, kind of fluky, situational. It just depends on where you are, and there are a lot of guys who luck themselves into interceptions every year and do it a few times in a season and then have real ones too. But it sort of didn't seem like he didn't get any benefits from others, but that could change the scenery, change the league, obviously, in the NFL, different
better coaching,
better coaching.
Tulane isn't known for their
better players just as a whole. That could be going for him for sure.
Cool. All right, man. That was a beast. 20 prospects. 20 prospects and a couple of shout outs. Holy crap. 2 hours. If you guys made it this far into the video, thank you. Thank you, guys. Let us know what you think. Do you like these players? Do you hate these players? Do you think that we didn't give these players enough credit? Do you think we gave them too much credit? Comment. Rip us apart if you want. Or, we could use a little ego boost. We just spent 2 hours talking about prospects. Maybe tell us how damn good we did, because I think we did a good job. I had fun talking about those prospects. And I think when these guys get drafted and we see them in the NFL, especially like Caleb Ransow, like say he doesn't go to one of the NFC East teams, but I just see him in coverage and he's, making a play, using that speed, getting a pick six. Like it's gonna be cool when you talk about these guys. Like you said, it's like you're trying to find those the players not everybody's talking about. And I think this late in draft process, I know I'm kind of sick of hearing about all the first round mock drafts and all those guys. Like I feel like we know them well, and plus if you watch college football, those guys in the first round were a lot of guys that you saw a lot. And I think we pulled out some good names, and some exciting early names too that people might not be like as privy to. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think they're always going to be the home run hitters, the top 60 picks or whatever. Yeah. I don't have the stats to back it up. I'm sure there are GMs that have numbers on if we get production out of our 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks, and we get this certain level of production. I'm sure there is some weird analytical way they can calculate the success they will be for the year. So if you're getting good success out of, or a good play out of your late rounders, maybe that's the difference between you not making the playoffs and getting the final wildcard spot. I don't know. But I think that if, some of these guys can play from the start and can contribute in their own way, maybe special teams, but it's all about having an eye for that talent and getting production from lower level guys in the drafts who can still give you production in the NFL.
Yeah, and sometimes you have your Darius Slaytons. Like I remember when we drafted him in the 5th round. Sometimes you have those guys and they just last forever. Or you have your Tyrone Tracy's, and I know the Eagles have hit. I mean, hell, like Josh Sweat was like a later round pick.
Yeah.
Williams was like a 3rd round pick. You guys are good at finding and identifying those players.
It makes a difference. You pay the price eventually because those guys will get paid good money, but you did something right. Mailata, obviously 7th round pick, a little different, he was a kind of a special case, but
for the rugby,
there are some good players. And it's all about these teams have massive scouting. These teams just have massive scouting departments for a reason, and all over the country. So it's talent everywhere, and literally everywhere in the country, everywhere in the draft. All about optimizing it and finding guys who fit your scheme well, regardless of where they're picked.
Agreed. But you know what? That's 2 hours, so I think that's enough. We're going to have one more final 7-round mock draft before the draft. But thank you guys for watching. And like I said, like and subscribe. We are the Beasts of the NFC East. And until later, peace.